Hey guys, Patrick Don of eXp Realty, part of the Johnson Group here. And today we're going over a Redfin news article called Homebuyers are canceling deals at a record rate, and here's why. Here's the deal, guys. In August, 56,000 home purchases were canceled. That's 15.1%, highest percentage in August since they started measuring it in 2017, according to Redfin. And we're going to find out what's going on. But here's a slide showing you that roughly 1 in 7 homes canceled. And look at the rates from August to 24 to 23. The rate is getting higher and higher. That's not great news for the housing market right now. But of course, like I said before, sellers had unprecedented negotiating power, and now it's starting to shift. We saw the chart, but why is the cancellations happening at such a high rate? Most likely because buyers and sellers are not on the same page. The perception of the market is being seen very differently from the seller's point of view and the buyer's point of view. For instance, buyers are a little bit skittish because, home prices are at an all-time high. Mortgages are a lot higher than they used to be. I want you to think about the way these homes are priced. They're priced for a 2 to 3% mortgage rate market, right? They're not priced for this 6% market, which is scaring buyers off. Not only that, but you talk about economic uncertainty is causing these buyers to go, you know what? It's too expensive. Maybe I don't want this home, so I'm just going to back out. Or, maybe they're just like, you know what? I have negotiating power. If you're not willing to fix my stuff that I'm asking for, that I'm just going to back out. And there's so many other reasons we're to go through them. But according to Redfin, there's over 500,000 more sellers than there are buyers. So buyers are sitting in the driver's seat and the sellers can't do anything about it. If you like our content on our channel, we cover everything Savannah, to include the Savannah housing market stats. We also like to cover small businesses, restaurants, and what to do in the Savannah area, which is the city we love the most. And then finally, we do home tours and community tours so that you know where you're buying and why. Now, we just saw why buyers are struggling to pull the trigger on buying homes and even putting homes under contract and then backing out, which I know, gosh, for sellers, it's super frustrating. And if you're a buyer, I just want to tell you, if you don't have a real intention of buying a home and you're putting it in contracts, you're just making it hard on the sellers who are trying to make plans to move. So we're going to talk about how to be due diligent as a buyer. But here's the thing. The sellers are not looking at this market the way they should. A lot of people are operating as if it's 2021. They're not getting used to the new normal, because I'm telling you, in 2021, your home may have been perceived to be worth $50,000 more than it is now. But because market has changed and there's 500,000 more sellers than there are buyers, you got to understand that you cannot just operate as if I'll just throw my house on the market as is and I'm going to get top dollar. It's just not the way it's working anymore. Buyers are backing out because, sellers are not negotiating on repairs. They're not, maybe another one comes to the market during the due diligence period and they're just backing out, or they just get cold feet. But as a seller, you've got to change the way that you're approaching this market. And we're going to be talking to you how you can do that. But just think about it right now. If you bought in those crazy times, the market has shifted completely. Now, here's some of the reasons why home buyers often back out of the deals. And it's not just home buyers. Home sellers can get cold feet too. You'll see some of that here. But you see here the biggest, overwhelming reason why people are backing out of their home contracts is the home inspection or repair issues. A lot of times people don't understand that a roof that is over 15 years old needs to be replaced before they sell. I know it's crazy, right? Insurance companies That's what they want to insure the home. If the buyer can't insure the home, they can't buy your home. So you need to understand that that could be one of the repair issues on the thing. Buyers financing falling out, that happens unfortunately too frequently. Sometimes, when they go through the pre-approval or pre-qualification, they don't catch everything, right? When they start going through the approval process, that's when they start catching things and like, oh, you know what? He has this lien or that lien or something like that. So they got to back out. Buyers unable to sell their current home. Think about that, right? If you're a seller and you go under contract, right? You're like, yes, buyers finally buying my home. Let me go buy my next home, right? So they go to buy the next home. They put that under contract, and during due diligence period, well, the buyers back out. Now, what does that happen? Is that a cascading effect where just, of course, this one's canceled, back on the market, but of course, then that one is canceled, back on the market. So it's a pain in the butt. Changing in the buyer's financial situation, that goes without saying. Buyer found another property they liked better. So they go under contract with you, they get the home inspection, they start looking at other homes. They're like, you know what? This one is better. Let's just back out of that one and just come to this one. They can do that as long as it's in their due diligence period. So that's why I kept saying we got tips on how sellers to keep people engaged. But that could be another thing that happens now. Concerns about economic climate, tariffs, all that kind of stuff. The seller backed out, which is not highly likely. But insurance issues is another big one. Like, this is what I'm going to tell you and we're going to get to this later. But buyers need to get with their insurance company sooner. If you are a seller and you got great like flood insurance or something like that, you can pass on like these. There's things you start looking into insurance from early, so the insurance doesn't bite you. I would tell you in Florida, insurance is just destroying home sellers over there and buyers. So, and then last, high mortgage rates. I think they're historical average right now. So, but sometimes it's making it unaffordable for some buyers. So how do we combat this backing out of contract thing? Well, here's some tips for the sellers. All right. So do a pre-inspection. I've made this suggestion before. It seems more relevant now than ever. Getting your house pre-inspected by a qualified home inspector could save you the headache and heartache. I want you to think. You're moving, right? But you can't move until the home sells. Getting the home ready to sell is probably the most important thing you can do right now. And getting a home inspection beforehand and then fixing those things on the home inspection before you go to market is a great way to market your property. I want you to think about this. If you're going to buy a home and the seller said, hey, I had the home inspected by a qualified home inspector, and here's what they found. And then here's the receipts for everything we fixed. That's going to put the buyers in a great mindset. They're like, you know what? This guy really, or this gal or guy really cares about their home. They took all this effort. We definitely want to work with them. That could definitely help. If your home gets multiple offers, take a backup offer. Please take a backup offer, right? Backup offer, if you don't understand how that goes, is you get your offer, you go under contract, and then another person's like, hey, look, I wanted to put an offer in there. Can I put in a backup offer? It might not be the same terms. That has to be negotiated up front. But once you negotiate that backup offer, the great thing is if that first, buyer backs out, then it automatically assumes its spot as long as the buyer is still willing to buy. So backup offers are great. And if you're a seller, another thing you need to do is just be flexible during this process. Listen, they're going to get the home inspected unless you did what I told you to do and get the pre-home inspection. But if you didn't, you can't afford it or whatever, or your house is just pristine already, they're going to get a home inspection. If they find problems, just be flexible and willing to fix them. They are looking for anything and everything to take money off the house. So you're going to be a little bit flexible, be nice, don't get offended. A lot of times I feel like sellers get offended very easily when this is a business transaction. You need to look at it that way. All right. But here's another way you can protect yourself as a seller is to shorten the due diligence periods if possible, right? Due diligence periods in this area, typically 10 to 14 days, can be shorter, can be longer. You prefer, as a seller, to be shorter. If you can get it down that 10-day window, at least you're only waiting 10 days to make sure that they're fully engaged. But also negotiate larger earnest money. I think now that the buyers have the advantage, we're going to go back down to where the buyers are barely putting any earnest money up. I would say if you're a seller, make sure they do 1%, because that's your only remedy when they back out. So the larger the earnest money, minimum of 1%, the better, because that's going to cover you if they back out. They say they go 10 days and their due diligence is up, and then they're like 5 days later, like, oh no, I don't want to do this anymore. Well, then they're going to have to pay the price. So, but they can't pay the price if you don't negotiate that in the beginning. So shorter due diligence and higher earnest money. And for the buyers, like, you're really in the driver's seat right now. There's really no rush, right? But I would tell you, it is bad to go under contract with a seller when you don't have a full intention of buying. So I would say, for first things off the rip, don't put a contract in there if you're not serious. And here's how you can be serious before you even put it under contract, right? The first thing you should do is get fully pre-approved, not pre-qualified. Pre-qualified is the simplest version and the least accurate. Getting pre-approved is they send you through the underwriting so they can flesh out any problems you have. The good thing about doing a pre-approval early is that you can find those issues and fix them before you even go hunting for homes, saving you a ton of time and frustration. Because I would tell anybody, and I will always say this, and I know lenders are not going to want to hear me say this, but the lending process is the hardest part about buying a home. All the other stuff is super simple, but the loan process is hard. So if you can get that done in the beginning, it'll make your home buying process a lot smoother and more enjoyable. The next tip I got is, hey, look, tour the home more than once. You go with your agent, right? And you see the home, you were thinking about it. Maybe they have an open house that weekend, which there's a ton of open houses nowadays because there's homes to have open houses for. Go a second time. Maybe get with your agent and go a third time. Just say, hey, look, I want to go another time. Make sure that you know this is the house for you. There's many factors besides just the inside, outside of the house. You got to think about the neighborhood. You got to think about the drive to work. How long does it take you to get to work? If your kids have soccer practice, how long does it take to get to soccer practice? All these things make a difference when you're buying a home. You want to get that stuff figured out in the beginning. So if you really like a home, do your due diligence in the beginning. Also, if you see the home is on the market for a long time, ask your agent to ask the other agent whether or not it's been under contract before, and if it didn't close, why. They may already have an inspection report for you to see, because they might have got it from the other buyer that backed out. Oftentimes that happens. Maybe they give it to them. Sometimes you have to pay for it. I think it's almost worth it to pay for it if you're the seller and you want to know why people backed out. If they give it to you, that's even great. But as a buyer, I mean, you want to make sure that you ask these questions. Why do they back out? Oh, it's an AC problem. I don't want to deal with the AC problem. You know what I'm saying? So figure out why it didn't close. Like I said before, insurance quotes. Insurance is going to kill you. If you haven't shopped for homeowners insurance in a while, you're going to see there's a vast difference than it was before. So you definitely want to get on board with the insurance company early. If you have your own, for your car or something like that, talk to them first, get the bundle, you know what I'm saying, and see if it saves you some money. But yeah, you definitely want to do your due diligence first. But the biggest thing I want to tell you is just be patient. Be sure, because you got time now. The only thing I would tell you is that if you're looking at a home that you feel is in a perfect location, the home looks pristine, brand new paint job, brand new appliances, brand new AC, brand new roof, you probably don't want to be patient on those. But if one that's got a little bit of, rough and, some cosmetic stuff, you could probably sit on those. So I just say, be patient. If you're a buyer or seller and you don't want to be one of these 56,000 canceled contracts, I will tell you, as a seller, You need to make sure your home is pristine. I think I said this before. Be flexible and just make sure you shorten those due diligence periods and you make sure your earnest money is right. If you're a buyer, I would say first things first, get pre-approved all the way and be patient. You don't have to rush in this market. This is not that 2021 market. And I think goes for the same for sellers. You got to understand that it's not the 2021 market anymore. You've got to compete. You're in a competition. And of course, like I said before, watch my channel because we go over the stats for the area, showing you what the home prices are, days on the market, price per square foot, closed homes, what's for sale, all the stuff. We cover that. So stay tuned to my channel if you want to stay informed. And I really appreciate you guys watching. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.